Australian Television Regional News. I'm Graham O'Brien, and coming up in today's bulletin, sex offender sentenced and deviant on the loose, wood burner issues heating up, Hockey International win for New Zealand, and SPCA provides pets for Christmas. Nelson, it seems, is the only council that are not allowing upgrading of wood burners in problem air sheds or allowing wood burners in areas that have never had an issue. Environmental Southland Resource Planner Jason Domigan has said that our community is going to struggle with this. It was a fine balancing act. The council did not want to see the health of residents improved by reducing smoke emissions, but then see more people getting sick when living in cold houses because they could not afford new heating appliances. And from Timaru, that had 50 high pollution days in the past, are now down to 23, with council being strong on voluntary agreement rather than regulatory compliance. Auckland Committee Chairman Calvin Penrose said that council planned to take a pragmatic approach with the bylaw to give people time to install alternative heating options, as they don't want to be seen as the big ogre coming down on people in Auckland. Mr Penrose said it would be difficult for the council to meet the deadline of 2016 set by the Ministry for the Environment. Instead, it would be phased in over several years. It is understood that council is not interested in penalising people for using open fireplaces or non-complying wood burners. Councillor Cameron Brewer, who will sit on the hearings panel for the Air and Quality Bylaw, has previously criticised a ban on domestic fireplaces and pre-2005 wood burners. He said having to buy a heat pump and pay more for electricity would hit people on low incomes and the elderly hard and leave many in the cold. So why does it seem that Nelson Council are set on being the odd one out? And why do they not take a look at what other councils are doing? I spoke with concerned local woman Melissa Short about this issue. Melissa, thanks very much for talking to us today.
Pleasure, that's fine.
No problem. And Melissa, please tell us, what's your motivation about the wood burner issue?
Well, I think it started definitely because I've just moved last year I moved to a house that didn't have, it had an open fire that hadn't been upgraded in time. So I wasn't able to use wood to heat the home for the first time actually since my children were born. So that was the initial thing. That was what set me off.
Okay, so you thought that was pretty unfair?
Yeah, that was the kind of the start of the question to the council was, could I? No. And then we swapped a few emails and I was just trying to understand why they thought upgrading to a clean air burner in a zone which has never had a problem, why that would impact.
Sure, yeah, and that's a big issue.
Negatively. Yeah.
And so you took it on yourself, and you rang and talked to all the councils in New Zealand that administer air sheds. What did you find out from those conversations?
Well, I think first of all I did that because I started a petition roughly at the same time. I knew there were enough people in Nelson unhappy and suffering because of our rules that were in place. So I started this petition, and then it kind of gained momentum. Media got on board, and it got to the stage where I was actually going to present it at the council. So at the start of that, and really for my own understanding, and to make sure, really to vindicate, justify my cause, I did call every council in New Zealand that administers air sheds to understand their rules and what they do. And so for someone in my situation, and all of the different situations really, for if you're building a new house and you wanted to install a clean air approved burner, perhaps if you're an existing property that didn't have a wood burner that you'd like to install. So I asked those questions, and importantly as well, if you had a burner and it was deemed now old or non-compliant, would you be able to upgrade it or update it even though the phase-out date had passed? Yep,
okay. And how did Nelson stack up?
The harshest of them all. The most, some of the comments that have come to me at the start of the petition where we overprescribed, the rules are overprescribed, and it's true. Nelson City Council has it's the only council in New Zealand to ban installation of wood burners in an air shed that is clean.
A warning has gone out after a school student was approached by a naked man on the Railway Reserve at Stoke last Friday evening, where he performed an indecent act. The student managed to run away to safety. It has been reported that the same man has also been seen at the Te Hunanui Touchfields and on the Railway Reserve at the back of Broad Green School as recently as Monday this week. Police say this person poses a risk to the community and are very keen to identify him. Detective Sergeant Ian Landridge said that there is now an increased police presence in the area until the person is identified. Police described the offender as being a white male in his 30s or 40s with salt and pepper coloured hair and a goatee beard. He is described as being tall with a fat stomach. On the most recent occasion, he was wearing knee-length shorts and a grey top. Police asked residents with properties backing onto the Railway Reserve to keep an eye out for someone fitting this description. It is likely someone in Stoke will be able to identify this man. Police also asked parents to reinforce the keeping yourself safe messages to their children, such as walking in groups, looking after your friends and not going with strangers. If you can assist police in identifying this person, please call Nelson Police on 546 3840 or calling Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. And while we're on the topic of deviance, police are issuing a warning out there for young travellers in the region after Motueka man Bernard Phillips was sentenced for his calculated targeting of vulnerable young visitors to New Zealand. 23-year-old Phillips was sentenced this week in the Nelson District Court to 6.5 years in prison on charges of abduction for sex, unlawful sexual connection, assault with a weapon, and 3 charges of indecent assault. The charges relate to 3 victims. Detective Steve Arnold said Phillips targeted young women staying at backpacker hostels and would pick them up hitchhiking. He said the offending was a strong reminder to visitors to take reasonable precautions about their safety. This man was clever and used his knowledge of the victims leaving the country within a short time, which increased his likelihood of getting away with his offending. Hostel and accommodation providers will need to take this message on board to help ensure their young visitors are aware of the risks they can face. Detective Arnold encouraged anyone who had experienced similar offending to contact the police as soon as possible. He said, "Don't delay and don't think it's just you. Your quick action could prevent someone else becoming a victim." Kids and safety are always an issue, especially at this time of year around water and playgrounds. Some years ago, a movement was made to have removed the Lions Foundation whale that is based at Te Hunanui. To a hue and cry from those who grew up on the back of the whale and other iconic playground creatures around the region. We went out on the street to ask people about whether we are being too overprotective with our kids in this day and age and whether we are too PC as a society.
What do you think about society becoming too precious over safety for children?
I agree with that. They are a little bit too precious. My opinion is that, people wrap them in cotton wool, take them to school, everything, so they don't actually learn elements of how to manage risk themselves.
Yes, I think so in some ways because, children have to learn boundaries and sometimes that's falling off something to actually learn that that's not a safe thing to do. So I think we've gone a bit crazy with some things, yes.
They don't learn to grow up and they learn how to accept risks and challenges in life.
Yeah, I do, definitely, because as a child I was told go outside and play. Now you've got to look what's outside before you go out to play. I think that they wrap the kids up in cotton wool too much. I was always told to explore and, I turned out all right, my kids turned out all right.
Yeah, but in some ways, nowadays there's more, people out there that you've got to worry about.
Yeah, you've got that. Yeah. But, for safety for children, like playing and stuff, we didn't have all this rubber matting stuff down on our playgrounds and, we just rough and tumbled it.
Well, you can't be too precious with kids' safety. You've got to look after them. But still, you've got to give them the tools to be able to look after themselves. And that means you have to teach them.
What do you think about political correctness?
Well, once again, definitely gone too far. The world's stuffed the way it's going today.
That's an interesting one. I guess it's necessary in some cases, but at the same time I do think again that we've gone too far and that we get a little bit precious and that sometimes you should just be able to say what you need to say and people take it for that reason.
I think we've gone far too far. I think it's absolutely stupid. You can't do anything without considering someone is going to say, "Oh, look, no, this is bad." men can't be seen in public with children in case they're accused of being pedophiles. So what if it's a granddad with his beloved grandchild? No, people are too quick to criticise.
When you listen to what's gone on about kin.com, yeah, it's probably, it's kind of gone both ways really, and now it's just gone too far.
A big cherry. Yeah, simple as that.
Nelson is hosting 2 international hockey matches between the Black Sticks and Canada this week, and the first game proved to be a thrilling one on Tuesday night at Saxton Field, as New Zealand came out blazing in the second half, scoring 2 goals and taking the win 2-1. This loss should see the Canadians coming out with a point to prove for Wednesday's match, with the weather sure to sort the men out from the boys, with the region suffering from its first real rainfall in months. And now, following on from the Heads in the Sand protest we reported on from last weekend, we thought it would be good to get some opinions from people on the street about how they feel the government is addressing the climate change issue.
Our government is promoting mining and deep sea oil drilling exploration. Do you think our government is taking climate change seriously, and why?
I think the government's taking climate change seriously, but perhaps not as seriously as many of us would like.
I don't think they're taking climate change remotely seriously. I think business always comes first over every argument against the environment. I think their behaviour is absolutely despicable, and I find them the most detestable government that I've ever encountered.
They're not that interested in saving the environment.
In general, I think the problem is that there's big business on one side, governments on another, goodwill on a third, and, now the twain shall meet. So it's an ongoing problem, isn't it, and will continue to be.
Climate change is a very debatable subject, and personally I think that our government is doing the right thing. I've just recently been on a tour and went to a lecture on fracking, and that also is a very contentious thing, but having seen this lecture, I think that everything in moderation. We've got to look at what's good for our country, don't we? That's the big question, and who better than our elected representatives to do that?
Awesome.
QV New Zealand new valuations for the area have been published from Wednesday this week and are available online. So for those awaiting their results, they will be sent out via post before Christmas on the 17th of December. These latest figures show that Nelson values have risen by 2.3%, with the median value going up from $399,827 in November, rising to $409,126 in November this year. Tasman District is up from $409,159 in last year and is now $415,212. Fundraisers recognise the need for keeping the Nelson Marlborough Rescue Helicopter service in the air as it goes into what is normally the busiest season, although it is already doing more missions than ever before over these winter months. Golfers took part in a golf day this week on Tuesday, which raised $840 for the Nelson Marlborough Rescue Helicopter Trust, while last weekend an evening of fashion and fun at the Pocket Runway event where more than $10,000 was raised. The Trust also has some fantastic items up for auction as well, so go and check out the Nelson Marlborough Rescue Helicopter Trust Trade Me charity auctions to help keep this essential service in the air. Almost everyone loves something to cuddle around Christmas time, so this week we sent James down to the SPCA Centre to talk to Donna Walsall about what may be available if you are looking for a new little creature comforter to come into your own life. Also, it's a time when people take off for holidays. We thought we'd raise the issue of the effects the Christmas holidays can have on pets.
I'm here today down at the SPCA Centre with Donna. So Donna, if people are looking to maybe adopt an animal right now, do you have a lot about or not at the moment?
Yeah, no, we are starting to get filled up. It's the time of the year when there's lots of babies being born, so we're starting to get more and more kittens in. We had a beautiful litter of 8 puppies brought in a few days ago, so they're up for adoption as well. We've got quite a few adult dogs here and lots of adult cats actually. And as the kittens get older and they find their homes, all the mums are left behind. So it's a really nice thing if people are looking for an adult cat that they come and look at the mums that have been fantastic mums and now need a home themselves.
Oh, awesome. And what do you look for in potential people for adopting?
Well, it depends what you're adopting, really. Every situation's really different, so we try and match the person with the pet, really. If you're wanting a little puppy, it's really nice if you're home during the day because they obviously need fed. For cats and kittens, the kittens obviously need fed during the day. Adult cats are much more independent, which is great. So, yeah, it depends on the situation.
And is there a large cost involved with adopting a pet? Like, what kind of things should people expect if they are looking to adopt?
Yeah, again, it depends on what you're looking to adopt. We adopt our puppies out for $200. That includes them being desexed, they're vaccinated, they're fleed and they're wormed. The kittens are $130, and again, they're vaccinated, desexed, fleed and wormed, and microchipped. So we try and include everything in the cost. There is obviously extras, and you do need to consider ongoing costs like veterinary costs, your flea and your worm treatments. And if something goes wrong, which it does do, and they're the unexpected, that's when people seem to get caught out.
So this kind of time of year, a lot of animals can get neglected as people are away for Christmas and things like that. Is there any way that maybe steps people could do to avoid this?
Yeah, absolutely. Just plan ahead. So if you are going away, ask a neighbour to come in and feed your pet. Try not to leave dogs, obviously, on their own for very long. They need to be walked every day and exercised. Your cats, sometimes you can get away with as long as your cat's not really needy, because some cats, when you go away, they'll leave home and you don't want that. So it's really nice if you can get them into a cattery or a boarding house, something like that. Although at this time of the year they are very booked up, so you've got to book early.
So if people do neglect their pets, which hopefully they won't, but what kind of punishments could they expect from that?
So there's some quite stringent laws in place against if people do break the rules in the Animal Welfare Act. So there's a fine of up to $50,000 and or 12 months in prison. So it's quite harsh penalties if you do neglect and get prosecuted underneath the Animal Welfare Act.
Wow. Well, thank you for your time for this, and hopefully people won't be neglecting their pets over Christmas because nobody likes to see that. And thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
The latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.